What up, QI geeks? It's Alan. So I'm here at Orlando International Airport, and I just got back from the IHI National Forum. So I'm just waiting to catch my plane. It's about 4:30 in the morning. Thought I'd just shoot a quick video and share three of the things that I learned at the National Forum this year. So it was a great forum. There were a lot of people that I caught up with, people that I haven't seen in a while. And of course, we got to hear a lot of the great minds in QI like Don Berwick speak about what QI is going to look like in the next, 5 to 10 years. So, three things that I learned at the National Forum this year. So, one was from a session called Creating a Culture That Outlasts Your Leadership. So what that means is that often you'll find in QI that one very passionate person often drives improvement efforts. And so when that one person leaves or gets reassigned or just moves on to the next project, the gains made in the improvement just plummet and you go back to baseline. So how do you prevent this from happening? So the key here is to move the decision-making powers as close to the front line as humanly possible. So the front line is where the true value is added. So you want your frontline nurse, frontline doctor, frontline healthcare professional, the person who actually is most proximal to the patient, to be able to make that critical decision and exercise their clinical judgment. So you should build your systems in order to make that happen. So the second key to that is to create a set of leadership standard practices as a way of evaluating the effectiveness and the performance of the governance. So leaders too need to be evaluated, and so creating leadership best practices in order to facilitate that downloading of the decision-making powers is also key. Second thing I learned was from a session called, what was it called? It was called Sustaining Improvement in Daily Work. And this one had to do with communication. So inevitably, when you make gains, there is a backslide that is probably going to happen. You can't anticipate everything that's going to go on. And so the key here is creating a communication channel, creating a way of identifying and escalating problems that happen on the front line. So if a frontline worker notes something that's just not right, or something that's slid back to the way it used to be, there has to be a way to identify that, and if it's not solvable immediately at the front line, a very efficient channel has to happen to escalate that problem to someone or some group of people that can solve it. So the third thing I learned was also based on communication, and it's how to create a communication message for your quality improvement project. So when you start out a QI project, you always create, as you know, a family of measures. You never proceed without a measurement plan. But we, for some reason, often feel that it's okay to proceed without a communication plan, and that's just wrong, because tight and timely communication is essential to any improvement project. So if you don't have a communications plan, then almost certainly your project is doomed to fail. So they actually were able to give us a framework, which I think is really useful and practical. So for each stakeholder that you want to engage, you should look at the following things. One is your aim. What are you trying to accomplish? Second is your audience. So who is that actually? Who are the groups that you're trying to engage? The third is your message. So what are you trying to tell them? What do you need them to know? Your next is your channels. So how are you going to engage them? Is it going to be via email, face-to-face communications, a newsletter, a journal, or whatever means by which you're going to reach your audience. And lastly is your actual story. How are you going to engage that particular group? So those are the three big lessons that I took away from IHI 2019. I think I'm gonna try and catch a quick nap here before my flight, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.